We have recorded applause just in case you don't get any. First of all, can we just clear something up, right? Is it Tim Myers or Myre?
It's Myre. It hasn't got an S on the end, but I won't be at all offended. Can I say thanks very much for having me along tonight? It's really good. A few familiar faces out there. In fact, Gareth played at our wedding on his guitar, and so that was a brilliant occasion. I think you had about a 3-foot ponytail in those days, Gareth. But anyway. So it's great to see you, and it's a fantastic initiative you've got going here. So yeah, brilliant.
For those who don't know you that well, could you perhaps tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
Yes, I'm Tim, married to my wife Sue, 2 boys, Isaac and Luke. I've got Luke here today. He's the one that's going to be cringing over in that corner, as I mentioned his name. We live over in Brotton. My wife works at Teesside University. I work for Nightstop, and we worship at Redcar Baptist Church, although we have also been part of a Methodist church over in Brotton as well. So I know they send their greetings to you tonight at the church when they were very interested in hearing I was coming along. So their love is with you as well tonight.
We've obviously learnt a little bit about Nightstop from that video, but perhaps if you could tell us a little bit about how you came to be involved in it.
Yeah. Well, you spoke about the Good Samaritan, the story, and we went to church about 12 years ago, heard that story, believe in the tenets about it completely, had some great hymns that day we can remember, came home and thought, well, how can we live that out in practice? Door that night, there was a female going along the street, obviously in some distress, and knocked on our door, wondered how we could help for the night. Did we know of any hostels locally, anywhere that could sort of put her up for the night, help her out? She obviously needed a little bit of help as well. I tried my best to do everything I could to help her. We did all the things you I'm sure would all do, made her cups of tea, offered meals. I was ringing around all kinds of places like the Salvation Army. It was late at night. Everywhere was shut. Hostels, of course, were all closed. I was ringing the police to see if they had any contacts. Basically, I was out of my comfort zone. I didn't really know what to do. And from that moment onwards, I decided I was going to find out where there was an organisation that could help a young person in distress like that, to help them off the streets, so I'd be informed if the next time it happened, rather than just hear the message in the church services and not be able to do anything about it. I wanted to actually equip myself with that information. So that's how I found out about Nightstop, which in fact was set up by the churches through a Faith in the City report many, many years ago, and has now got a Teesside branch. 10 years later, we have had over 200 young people stay with us, not all on the same night. They were spaced out on different nights, and they have stayed with us, and Nightstop Teesside has had over 4,000 young people that they've helped over those 10 years.
The thing that strikes me about it is, I mean, there's obviously many different ways of helping people, but to take strangers essentially into your home is a very personal thing to do in a way. You're inviting them into your space.
Yeah.
Are there difficulties sort of associated with that, or is it trepidation about that?
I mean, yes, because obviously the image is that they're going to rob you blind. You're going to be left with no possessions by the end of the night. But I can honestly say, out of the 200 or so that we've had stay, not one of them have been at all threatening. Not one of them has stolen anything. They've been on the best behaviour because they are so grateful that they've had a night to stay somewhere that's prepared to take them in. We have found that usually, not always, because every one of them has been different, their circumstances have been, there's been some sort of relationship breakdown. Somewhere along the line, something's gone wrong, and that's why they've been in that situation. We've often made some good friends out of many of them, and we found that they're not usually jealous of the possessions that you have. Funnily enough, my clapped out Skoda is not something they look on jealously. My Middlesbrough season ticket that I've got on the cupboard, they don't look on that jealously. They're not bothered about that. My DVD collection is not anything that they sort of feel jealous about. But what they are often very jealous about is the photographs we have in our album of a family sitting around a table eating a meal, because that's something that perhaps they are missing out on. They're very aware they're missing out on, and that's something they have been jealous about.
What sort of, in your view, are the most common reasons why young people end up in that situation? I mean, perhaps the video sort of covered it a little bit.
Nearly always there has been some sort of breakdown at home that has caused that situation at the root of the problem. Now, I won't say all young people, it's been just sort of one story. There's sometimes two sides to every story, we're aware of that. And there's obviously sometimes been poor choices made, learnt behaviour, poor budgeting. There may have been some sort of timekeeping problems that have gone on through the young person's history. That will sometimes, we're not naive, we know that that may be sometimes a cause of the problem. But the way we answer that is we park that onto one side and say, for 1 to 2 nights, here is port in the storm, time for you to try and get some decisions made and take your life forward. What we don't try and do, and what appeals to me about Nightstop, is we don't try and overcomplicate it by making it too woolly, no pun intended. We don't try and say we can solve all your problems. What we say, we keep it simple. Management speak is SMART targets, I think they call it. We say, look, here's 1 to 2 nights for you to have emergency accommodation in a safe and secure home, run by volunteers. A meal is provided, a bath if you need it, a bed for the night, and the next day we then take you through to the various sort of agencies that can maybe try and sort out a longer term solution. So we keep it simple. We just say, this is what we can provide. We don't try and be expert. We've got various, I mean, I won't embarrass them by name, but we've got various families around the area, including in Gisborough. Some of the church members here have been part of Nightstop and are doing wonderful jobs. If I may just say, over Christmas I was on the phone rota, Christmas Eve, snow everywhere, you'll probably remember. And I thought, where on earth, if the phone rings, am I going to find anyone that's going to be prepared to give up their Christmas? Sure enough, 4 o'clock Christmas Eve, phone rings, my heart sinks. I thought, where on earth can I find a host, as we call them, a family, that's prepared to do that? A young man had had a row at home, which is nearly always the reason that this happens, and needed a place for Christmas night. I rang round the people that were available. A family said, over in Loftus, said they were prepared to have this young man. So I drove out, picked him up from Middlesbrough, took him through. He was obviously very worried. But in my mind, I was thinking, Christmas Eve, how brilliant that a family are prepared to take him in. We got through the snow, skidding around, the door opened, warmth shone out from this family, dogs everywhere, took him in. He visibly relaxed. And I thought, that's it. That is the Christian message. From Matthew, whatever you do for the least of my brothers, you do for me. That is living out the Christian message. Whatever you do for the least of these, you do for me.